Today on Help Me DIY, we're going to take your Boxster and transform the rotors to some cross-drilled ones like this. So I already did the right side. This is the old stock rotor, and I found a good set of slightly used cross-drilled rotors from Aaron over at Renpart. Okay, here's our complete tool list to do the job. We have a couple ratchets. We have a small 10 millimeter. We have a 19 millimeter for our wheels. We have a 10 millimeter hex. We have anti-seize. We have our torque wrench. We have some PB blaster. We have an impact gun. Our channel locks. Anything to cut zip ties. We have a couple zip ties, and we have a bit that fits in our impact gun. That's it. It's actually a really fairly easy procedure. First, I just got the car jacked up high enough to get the wheel just off the ground so we can remove the wheel. So that's step number one. 19 millimeter socket will have those lug nuts off in no time, and then we can just remove our wheel. Okay, as soon as I have the wheel off, I can see that the two screws that hold the rotor on are right here and right here. They're Phillips head. I'm going to go ahead and first thing use some of this PB blaster, or you can use WD-40 or similar, and just spray a little bit into there and let it soak in. So while we're doing the rest of it, that will start breaking up any gunk in there to make it easier to take that off in a minute. So the steps are really very easy. Remove tire, which we already did. Remove caliper, this guy right here. And then remove rotor, this guy right here. So to take off the caliper, if we come around back here, you're gonna see, normally you're gonna see right here a 10 millimeter bolt that you're gonna take out. Mine sheared off last time when I did the suspension, and I've never replaced it. That just holds this little bracket onto it, but it's really solid and firm, so even without it, it doesn't go anywhere. So you're gonna wanna do that. And then this is a 10 millimeter Allen and a second 10 millimeter Allen are the two bolts that hold the caliper on to here. So we're going to take those off next, and when we take them off, we will take our caliper, and some people use wire. I like to use two zip ties together because it's easier for me, and hang it on this little hook over here so it will be out of the way. Now the only thing to do first is, as I learned with my suspension, I have a lip worn into this rotor here from the brake pads, riding around right underneath it. So if I were to undo this right now and try to pull it off, the brake pads would get stuck on that lip and I couldn't get them off. So I'm going to compress the brake pads in this way to the outsides of the caliper so that they will slide off, and I'll show you how to do that. All you need is a pair of channel locks and a rag of some sort just to protect the caliper from marring. So as you can see, I have the rag underneath the front edge of these channel locks, and the outside edge is on that piece of metal right there is actually the brake pad itself. So if I squeeze the channel locks now, I don't know if you can see it, but I can feel it getting closer. So squeezing the brake pad to the side of the caliper, pushing the pistons in, and just do that on the other side. All right, on the other side, I squeezed that one in as well, so those should be out of the way. Now we can just use the big 10 millimeter Allen to remove these guys. Okay, that's what our 10 millimeter Allen looks like. Okay, we've got it inserted now, so now loosen it. They're pretty tight. When you tighten them back up, it's 63 foot-pounds, which is 85 Newton meters, which did not seem all that tight when I did it on the other side, but that's what the Manual says it feels like they're on there harder than that right now. So we'll just go until you think you'll be able to turn them by hand. They're fairly long, and we don't want to take them out all the way now before we get a hold of the caliper, or it would just fall. And we don't want that. Okay, this one's a lot looser. And I can almost turn it by hand. So let me get these a little looser. All right, I went ahead and removed one bolt all the way and left the top bolt in there so the caliper will stay on. And I want to do that so that I can prepare the zip ties. So this is what's going to hold the caliper on. So pro tip, if you need longer zip ties, you can attach two of them together. So I need a longer one. Stick the end of this one in here. Just get it started. Now I have a long zip tie. And I'm gonna have it ready to stick through here. And I can actually just go ahead and connect these two real quick to make a loop. Okay, now they're connected, so I have a loop. I can take this bolt out that's sticking out now, and I'm just gonna slide the caliper right over and hook this loop onto that. I might have to move this wire out of the way. Okay, just unscrewed that bolt, slid that thing out of the way, and now our caliper will come off of there. And get my glove stuck under there. Okay, set it on there, and our caliper is out of the way. The brake or the pad wear sensor is still on there. The manual says to unclip it, but that is totally unnecessary. You can just, it reaches far enough to hang it there. All right, now we just have to take out these two screws. At first, I tried to use just a big screwdriver and start turning them, but it seemed like it was gonna start stripping and it wasn't coming anywhere. So I got a screwdriver bit on here, and I'm gonna stick it in my impact gun wrench here and put it on reverse, and we'll see how this one does. I haven't done anything to it. You can actually put a screwdriver in there and whack it with a hammer a couple times gently just to unstick things, but we'll see how this does. Yeah, there we go. Came right out. Nice and easy. And the other one. Oh, it came out super easy. Okay, so those are the only things that are holding our rotor on now, except for friction around the inside. So I'm going to take two hands, grab this, and pull it off real quick. Oh, came right off. Nice and easy. Okay, I got our new rotor here. I'm going to just take a little bit of fine sandpaper and run it around here to get off some of this rust. Yeah. Now the brake pad will take this off eventually too, but I just want to prep it a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take a little bit of anti-seize and put it around the inside where this will contact the wheel hub. Because next time we take this off, we want to make sure it's just as easy to get off as it was this time. And it will also be hitting right here, so I'm just going to dab a little bit around here Okay, now we want to line this up with this so we can see the two holes right here are where our retaining screws are going to go. So on our rotor, we have to look at our back here, and we'll see that these two with the insets are where the screws go. So there are 4 holes on here. Make sure you line up the correct 2 with these holes over here, and then line up the remaining bolts. Try not to touch the face of the rotor too much with your hands to get stuff on it. Once we think we have our holes lined up well, shove our screws back in here. And our other one, we got a little anti-seize on the threads. Just getting on my hands. Okay, once we have those in there fairly well, I can take this, and I'm just going to turn it by hand so they're nice and snug, and then tighten up a little bit. All right. There we go. Rotor is now in there, spinning freely. Now just to reverse the steps, we're going to just use something to cut the zip tie that we're holding this up with, or just lift it off, cut this, pull our zip tie out. Put our caliper back over here. Line up the holes for our bolts. Start them threaded back in. All right, I'm going to use my torque wrench now that's at 63 foot-pounds. All right. Now we just, for you guys at home, you're going to replace your little bracket here that I do not have the screw for. Put that back in place if necessary, and put your wheel back on, and that's all there is to it.